The following video was sponsored by the Greek American Heritage Society of Philadelphia, preserving and promoting our community's history.
Marika was a friend of all Greeks. She loved her people. She loved working for them. She loved the language, and she did everything she could to promote it.
She spent her life trying to help others through education in her teaching career and her unification of the Greek communities, of all the Greek communities. She especially loved dancing and anything thespian. Mom was always on stage. Whenever her camera was out, Mom would turn, smile, fix her hair, and perform.
Obviously I would be the pride in the Greek legacy and the heritage and the roots. She just never stopped instilling that. But just how pretty much everything has flown from Hellenic society that we have in the Western world. That's pretty much where it was her emphasis.
She was relentless. She never said no to anything anybody ever asked her to do. And she was involved in so many projects. It was amazing. She had so much energy.
Marika's personality was so diverse that she was so influential to the to the city of Philadelphia, by bringing a lot of people of Philadelphia that were not Greek Americans.
When I think of Marika Trizonis, I think of powerful, robust, full of energy, and always a smile and a hug type of a woman. She always made you feel inclusive, always gave you the energy that you need in order to take it to the next step.
Marika Trizonis was a proud Greek American with a huge smile.
Marika Papouris Trizonis, who left us in the spring of 2015, was a treasure in the Greek American community of Philadelphia. She hailed from Aretsou, a beautiful suburb of Constantinople. After the Asia Minor catastrophe of 1922, her parents moved to Marseilles and ultimately Philadelphia. Marika embraced her new home and the Greek community of our region. She led a very successful professional life as a teacher and a very successful family life. She married Thanasi Arthur Trizonis, and together they raised their two sons. What distinguished Marika from everyone else was a pure and simple love for Greece, which emanated straight from her heart, like the love toward our mother, without effort and without limits. A love toward Greece and anything Greek, and the marvelous urge, a need even, to support and to promote Greece and Hellenism in every opportunity and in every area she found herself. Marika was both well-cultured and well-organized so as to be able to promote Hellenism in numerous fields. In the socio-political arena, where for over 8 years she was the soul of the Philadelphia Federation, for 2 years acting as its president, but also in the cultural arena, where her own cultural education and her hard work bore ample fruits, as for example in dance and music performances for decades. I had firsthand the opportunity and the pleasure to admire Marika at work, this wonderful human being full of unbounded energy and unlimited love for Greece. And from 1995 until her death, I was lucky to be included in the small music group that gathered once a month in Thanasis and Marika's home, first in Brummel, then in Concord, to play for hours on end Greek music, another great love of Marika's.
She loved Hellenism. I think she got most of it from her father, who loved his people as well. And she started at a very early age. She started dancing and poetry for Dr. Lagakos when he would promote a show, and he would ask her to do something, and she would come right out with her mandolin and sing songs and play music and just have a wonderful time. And she was a Greek all the way. Marika would go every year. I would send her and the children every year, and they toured Greece. They didn't stay in one spot. The first thing they did was get a rental car, and they would go to whatever site they wanted to go to. If they liked it, they'd stay long. If not, they would leave the next day. The boys enjoyed it immensely. One year, she took over our 2 boys and her sister's 2 boys. So she had 4 young men to look after. And they were not easy to look after. They wanted to do everything and go every place. But she did.
Mom went to Greece every opportunity she could. And although it was always for pleasure, there was a lot of archaeology involved. Mom was a historian, and she loved to go to the historic sites and teach us about the historic sites and roam the artifacts, and that was central to our trips to Greece, was learning about the history of Greece and the Greek people.
I was fortunate enough to go to Greece with my mother 3 times, in 1981, 83, and 86. It was just Mom and I in 81, and she made a point of picking up the blue guide to Greece and the lesser known areas and whatnot. So of course we hit Athens, we did the Acropolis and all those things and whatnot, but then she took me really off the beaten path. In 81, as a 12-year-old in Greece, is almost like a third world country. It was amazing. I remember on our first visit to the Acropolis, I made it all the way to the middle of the Acropolis with Mom yelling at me until the guard said, "Hey, get out of there." In 83, we took, I believe that was with my brother and my cousins and whatnot, and she did the same thing. We were very fortunate. Dad had a friend there. I remember coming back, and the English teacher had asked everybody, "What did you do for your summer?" Mind you, I spent almost 6 weeks each time. And the kids would say, "Hey, I went to the Jersey Shore, I did this, that, the other thing." Well, I basically wrote about my trip to Greece and blew away the teacher and the whole class. "You did what?"
When she was in love with her Greek heritage, she was in love with every little pebble from Greece. She would go to Greece and get pebbles from all parts of the country, and she would write, she would bring me one, and she would say, from Sparti, from Athena, from Delphi, from this little village she went to, pictures with people from the village, older men and women. She would love to sit down and talk to them and bring back stories with goats and so many things, with trees. She was in love with everything that had to do with our Greek heritage, and that was, I guess, the big connection between Marika and lots of us.
Through the years, we have many projects that we were involved in, including Miss Eleftheria, which some of you may remember. It certainly got to Greece because we were in Greece many times, and people would refer to her as the Miss Eleftheria lady, and she liked that.
Well, the Federation has been around since the 1940s, and it's the blanket organization of all the Greek American societies and Greek Orthodox churches in the Delaware Valley and Philadelphia area. Marika was very, very involved in the Federation. She was involved with the parade that we would have every year, the Greek Independence Parade. But one of the highlights of the Federation was the Miss Eleftheria pageant. And this was the brainchild of Maria. I mean, she really did a lot of work to bring this thing together. And it was basically bringing young women in a pageant with their escorts, and usually the escorts were a friend or family member of the contestant, and they would ask questions, and then we would crown a winner, and then the Miss Eleftheria winner would be on a float in the Greek Independence Parade with her court. One of the things that I remember about Marika and the Miss Eleftheria pageant was that she wrote the theme song. Together with my brother Ted Karapolitis, they wrote the theme song that was sung during the time that the judges were out in another room, separate room, calculating the scores of the contestants to come up with a winner. And the Atlantis band would be playing, and one of the songs would be this Miss Eleftheria theme song, which was titled God Created Little Girls. It was a nice song.
During those years, there was so much enthusiasm about this activity of the Federation that all the young people in the area participated, and we probably had a lot of them following the Federation later or following the other societies, becoming members of the societies and the churches. And that was the good thing that happened under her supervision and direction.
I was inducted into that myself. Mom would ask pleasantly, but it was more of a, you're doing it, you know, be part of the Miss Eleftheria contest. One time she stuck me on a float through Philly. So other times she made me do things like be the Olympic torch runner, let alone Greek folk dancing.
This special lady, this special person that we are talking about, she always shined at the meetings, whether supporting or leading the way. There are so many beautiful moments. You know, you talk about some people and you try to find nice things to say. When you talk about Marika, you're afraid that you're gonna forget some of the nice, beautiful things she did for the community.
Back in the 1970s, Marika was the director of the Hellenes dance group from St. Luke's in Broomall, Pennsylvania. It was a great, great dance group, and what I liked about the dance group was that it wasn't your typical dance group that they came out in the traditional outfits and did a traditional song. They were dressed in somewhat traditional outfits, but a little bit flamboyant, and the music was always top-notch. They would pre-record the music, have Thanasi overdub his voice, describing what the type of dance was going to be danced to, and where it was from Greece, and a little history. And that was great because the non-Greeks would listen to this and say, wow, this song is from Macedonia and it was danced for the last 2,000 years, whatever. And the Hellenes dance group had a lot of young people that went through it.
Marika started a dance group at St. Luke's, and it went on and on. They danced at so many different occasions, not just the church, but they danced out. They danced, downtown and in schools and colleges, universities. She was a teacher. She taught at the Marple Newtown schools, and she was certified in English, Spanish, and social studies, all three of them. But mostly she taught English. And when she taught English, she always got into mythology. So when she taught mythology, she was happiest because she liked that very much.
Mom was involved in dancing and theatrics from my earliest memory. From her time in the school programs, she would unite all the teachers to put on performances. She would unite the students in performances. Dancing and music was always central to my mom's life.
I mean, Mom was a school teacher for 37 years. She impacted a lot of people. One thing that was always interesting is no matter who it was, she had a lot of freedom then to put her own curriculum in the schooling and whatnot, and they always remembered her Greek mythology instructions. No matter who they were, she would just reach these kids and they remembered it. She couldn't hide from being a teacher. One time we were on Crete, in the middle of nowhere on a beach, and the next thing I hear somebody say, Mrs. Trizonis? I looked over and said, a student again here? So she loved doing that. Her biggest thing that she wanted to do is she did not want to see the Greek cultural history and legacy fade and get homogenized. That was huge for Mom. She tried to encourage me with my little ones to instill the pride of our heritage and whatnot. I have not done all I should though, but that is something I have to do for Mom ultimately though.
Τη Μαρίκα θα την θυμάμαι πάντοτε να βοηθάει. Πάντοτε αναζητούσα τη βοήθειά της, είτε καλλιτεχνικά είτε στην αγγλική γλώσσα. Τη Μαρίκα την είχα καλή συνεργάτησα. Η Μαρίκα για μένα έπραξε το παν. Αν στηρίχθη σε στερεά θεμέλια η εκπομπή μας, στηρίχθη διότι είχα τη Μαρία δίπλα που πάντοτε με κατέκρινε όταν έπρεπε και την ευχαριστούσα. Επίσης μου έλεγε, Γιώργο, αυτό θέλει ο κόσμος, σε αυτό θα αποφασίσεις το θέμα που θα εξακολουθήσεις να δείχνεις στην παροικία. Αξέχαστη θα μείνει η Marika Trizonis.
The Greek Spirit TV, hosted by George Berlotos, started in the early 1980s. It was the only Greek-American television show in the Philadelphia area and is still running today, which is great. It's a great show. George does a great job. Marika helped George out, and her husband, Thanasi, would go on the show and host a different segment. She would talk about mythology, Greek mythology, which she was very interested in. She was a school teacher, of course, and she loved everything Greek. But she did a lot of work for George and really elevated the show when they would go on.
When she had a chance to help George Berlotos with the Greek Spirit, she was able to capture the essence of what the Greekness was all about in that program. It is very difficult because I tried it 2 out of the 15 fundraisers, annual fundraisers that we had with WYB Channel 35, to do it off the cuff on the camera, and it was very challenging. But Marika and Arthur were very smooth, they would transition very easily, and it was a lot of fun, with a smile, with the yasas, with the hellos, with the appeal to the Greek Americans and more to the American publics. That was much bigger than what Marika was, much bigger than what the television station was, and much bigger of what the impact that we had during the major fundraisers of $5,000, $10,000, which was unheard of back in those days.
She wasn't much of a singer, but she was a great dancer. She loved to dance, and she loved Greek music, and the Rebetika were her favorites. There was a group that used to come to the house every Friday night. It went on for 20-some years. They're all amateurs, but they were all great musicians, and individually they were to be admired, but as a group they were unbelievable. We had people like Tony Beldikos and Angelo Karakassis, and it just went on and on. There's so many different ones. And they still try to get together, but it hasn't worked out quite as well. And nobody wants to be the leader. Everybody just wants to play casually. So we used to eat and drink and play music. And it was a night to be remembered. Marion enjoyed that, and it seems to have given her strength. And she played her mandolin with him. And I played the Zora, and I wasn't that good, but I wasn't bad either.
We would have sing-alongs and play from 9, 10 o'clock at night to 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Of course, the reason why we stayed so long is because Elia Pantelides would show up at 1 o'clock, and that was the running joke for the last 30 years. But up until this year, we continue doing the Friday nights. Now we've moved them over to Dr. Caracasi's house, but Marika was heavily involved. She would bring out her Italian mandolin, and I would tease her all the time about it's an Italian mandolin, it's not a bouzouki, but she would be there playing the mandolin or playing a tambourine, singing along, and then serving everyone some mazavakia and some coffee and drinks. And it was just a great time. And a lot of the guys that played learned how to play from those nights. And I learned how to play better because I had to take the lead and continue playing, and it was like a practice every week. Well, Night in the Stars, they decided to do a talent show. The first one, I think, was at St. Luke's, and then it moved over to St. Demetrius. I think it was around 1987. I know they did one 87, 88, 89 at St. Demetrius. Marion was involved because she would get everyone together and decide what their acts were going to be. One year they had Theo Constantinides and Joyce Velasopoulos doing a Sonny and Cher act. They dressed them up like Sonny and Cher. They came out and they sang a song. Tino Onassis came out and sang a song with her father, John Onassis. There was George Karmatopoulos, who was dancing on upturned little shot glasses. And Marion's the one that put this all together. And she would practice with these people every week. She had Demo coming out in a sequence jacket singing your favorite Greek songs. And I would attend these practices, and it was fun. And then once the show was over, it was like, what do we do after that? And we'd practice for the next year. And she was very instrumental in the big success that these talent shows had.
I'd only seen a few. However, I would always have to hear it from Dad in the morning. You know, I would ask him in the morning, what time did they finally leave? And it would be, you know, by daybreak, and they'd still be in their cars talking and whatnot. But I know Mom loved doing that. She would complain a little bit because she had to get the other food and all that kind of stuff, but it was something she loved to do anyway. She really didn't care about it.
She also was the center of the company that we have created, the Parea that we had created during those years, and she was always the ψυχή, να πούμε στα ελληνικά, of these activities. She was getting us in her house, in the old house in Broomall, and we had a celebration on the 4th of July, for example, around her pool, and believe it or not, some people were diving into the pool with their clothes, and you know, there was a lot of fun.
So many things. We would have that night 8, 12 different shows, and she would coordinate every part of it. And no one will ever forget when she did herself the Diamonds Are Forever. And she had so many, and that was typical of Marika, and we all remember her doing that show.
She encouraged me to try some new things, and I recall one particular incident. At that time, GARMI was very big for the resolution of the Macedonian issue, Greek Americans for the resolution of the Macedonia issue, and we're coming from Washington, and Marika turns around to me and says, "We're not having enough fun, Nico, let's do something fun." And she goes, "I got a good idea. First, the men would serve the ladies, and then the ladies would serve the men at the Macedonian house on Garrett Road." And I'm like, "Okay, Marika, let's talk about this." So we wind up having the Ristorante Buffo night, which was a lot of fun. We served Italian food, we spoke like Italian waiters, we were dressed like Italian waiters, Italian jokes with Italian accents, danced the tarantella, and had a great time serving Italian food to the ladies.
My personal memory is that we were together for 60 years. never parted. We had our differences, but we never argued extensively. And she was a wonderful wife. She was the most wonderful woman in the world for me. My mother, my father, my sister, and my brother all loved her. They thought she was great, and she was.
That Mom's memory is going to go down as a unifier. She tried really hard to get all the different Hellenic groups together and working more as one unit instead of many splintered little units. She loved Greece as a whole, and whether it was the Pontians or the people from the Vunai, it didn't matter who it was, they were Greeks, and she wanted to get everybody together at the dances, in the performances, in the Miss Eleftheria pageant. She just wanted to unify the Greek youth. Mom really wanted to focus on the youth to try to keep the legacy of the Greeks going.
I will remember Marika as the honest, energetic person that impacted the Greek-American society here in Philadelphia to a major extent. She brought new ideas, she created new activities, and she also influenced a lot of people to be and to follow in the activities of the Greek-American society.
In remembering who Marika was, I look back at the times that she was doing the Miss Eleftheria pageant, or the parade, or the talent shows that we had, and I would go in on a Friday night or a Saturday to come over for a cup of coffee, and there would be papers all over the place. There would be notes, little post-its stuck here and stuck there. She would be on the phone talking to different people, and I looked at her and I would say to Thanasi, she's driving herself nuts. Look at her, she's overwhelmed. And he would just say, but she loves it.
A true Hellene, a true Macedonian, a true philanthropist and one of the more important things that I would remember about Marika was her out-of-the-box thought process and motivators for me personally.
We all have some special, very special moments in our lives, and we remember them and we smile. And some of us have been very lucky to share some of those special moments at the Trizonis' house. Share them with Marika's elegance, Thanasi's voice, and they will stay and put a smile on us forever. How can we ever forget preparing for the talent shows, for the Vradia των Αστέρων? Friday after Friday at the Trizonis', so many people dancing, singing, eating, Marika playing the little Zura, Thanasi playing the bouzouki, and staying until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, wishing the night will never end, for weeks and months before the talent show. And then preparing for Miss Eleftheria. How can you forget Atlantic City? We did a show in Atlantic City with Miss Eleftheria, and we were all with our tuxedos that night at the casino. What a big night it was. I mean, there are so many special moments, and we had so much fun with Thanasi and Marika. God bless them, and they will stay with us forever. And if you were not there, you can't possibly feel what we felt, but it was so special, so special.
But I prefer a man who lives and gives me lots
For more information about sponsoring or viewing the interview series, visit the Greek American Heritage Society of Philadelphia online at gahsp.org.